Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us here for Western Mass News at 6. I'm Jordyn Jagolinzer. Chris Pisano is off tonight. The Massachusetts Interscholastic Athletic Association has given the green light for some high school sports to be played in the fall. But if a school district has chosen full remote learning, the decision to go forward with sports has to go through a separate process. Western Mass News reporter Sarah Granelli joins us live with a look at what some local districts are planning to do. Sarah?
Jordyn, that's right. If a school district decides to be fully remote this fall, it's now up to the school committees each to vote on whether or not sports will happen this fall. Student athletes are ready to hit the field for the upcoming sports season, but that all depends on if the district is fully remote, like the town of South Hadley, and the COVID-19 risk level.
Our community has gone from green to yellow to red.
According to the Massachusetts Interscholastic Athletic Association, if a community is considered high risk, shown in red on the Massachusetts COVID-19 town-by-town risk assessment, and will be full-time remote in the fall, that district will have to push their sports season till February.
I'm pretty confident that, we have worked through in our town, in our school committee with our administrative teams, hopefully our town seeing a downturn in the number of cases.
Towns or cities in green, yellow, or white and full remote must have their fall sports season approved by their school committee. In West Springfield, the city is in green with 7 reported COVID-19 cases in the last 14 days. Mayor William Reichelt says it's important for students to be able to have their outlet.
I myself am in favor of having sports happen. I mean, it's a big part of the high school experience, and we're seeing it done safely now in the summer.
He says the school committee is looking to take a vote on which sports will be allowed come September.
I think we'll try to get as many sports to play as possible. It's weird now because now we have the threat of Triple E in conjunction with sports. I mean, that was a big thing we had to deal with last year.
And the MIAA says they're going to create a timeline for each school district for when they need to have their decision made. Live in West Springfield, I'm Sarah Granelli for Western Mass News.
Sarah, thanks for that live report. And here's a look at today's numbers of COVID-19 cases. So far, the state reports 431 new cases with a total number of 115,741 in the Bay State. There are 13 more deaths, sadly, to report today. The statewide death toll now stands at 8,670. In campaign 2020 news, the Democratic U.S. Senate primary is less than 2 weeks away here in Massachusetts. Recent polls show that incumbent Senator Ed Markey is gaining momentum against his challenger, Congressman Joe Kennedy. But last night, a surprise endorsement for Kennedy came from an unlikely source, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Western Mass News reporter Audrey Russo joins us live from home with more. Audrey?
So this is unexpected to some because House Democrats have enacted a policy that would cut off financial ties with any consultant working against an incumbent in a primary. And while this particular race involves the Senate and not the House, many people view Pelosi's endorsement of challenger Joe Kennedy to be hypocritical.
On the last day of the Democratic National Convention, an event meant to draw unity within the party, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi dropped a surprise endorsement for the U.S. Senate primary race in Massachusetts. The Speaker, considered the country's top Democrat, endorsing challenger Joe Kennedy over longtime Senate incumbent Ed Markey. The campaign's responding to Western Mass News Friday. Markey saying in part, quote, "Any candidate would be proud to have her endorsement, and I congratulate Congressman Kennedy on securing her support." Kennedy on earning Pelosi's endorsement, saying in part, "She is a force and a change maker, and I'm beyond grateful to have her in my corner."
She has, for the last couple of election cycles, pushed back very, very hard against any primary challengers.
John Back, a history professor at Western New England University, says because of past resistance to primary challengers, Pelosi's endorsement of one has been poorly received by progressives.
It seems to some that it's a hypocritical gesture.
A UMass Amherst WCVB poll from a few weeks ago shows Markey polling at 51% support to Kennedy's 36%, with a margin of error at 7%. 7%. But a pollster out of Louisiana, JMC Analytics, shows a closer race, with Kennedy behind 3%, within the margin of error of 4.4. Kennedy, who Back describes as a rising star in the Democratic Party and close to Speaker Pelosi, had a larger lead earlier in the race. Now with things tightening and primary day less than 2 weeks away, Back says Pelosi may have strategically planned her support for Kennedy.
For an endorsement to come any later might not do any good.
Again, this primary will be held September 1st, but for those looking to cast their ballot early, this early in-person voting process in Massachusetts begins tomorrow. Reporting live, Audrey Russo for Western Mass News.
Audrey, thanks. Now at 6, Springfield police are asking for your help identifying an individual hugging people in Walmart claiming to spread the coronavirus. They tell Western Mass News that last Saturday, this man was offering free hugs in the Walmart on Boston Road and then telling them, quote, just giving you a COVID hug, you now have COVID, end quote. Western Mass News spoke with Springfield Police Public Information Officer Ryan Walsh, who breaks down the charges that this man could face.
Could be charged with assault and battery for the hug. He could be charged with making terroristic threats. I know it sounds a little wild on that end, but it kind of is similar in terms of charging to making a false bomb threat. If he was COVID positive or knowingly COVID positive and he transmitted it, there could be much more serious additional charges tacked on.
Officer Walsh tells us the victim who reported the incident was a cancer survivor and has since received medical treatment. A big day for fried onion and burger lovers here in Western Mass. Amongst other things, the iconic White Hut has reopened their doors for the first time in months. Western Mass News reporter Lindsay Kane joins us live in West Springfield with more. Lindsay, not a bad place to be today.
Not at all, Jordan. People have been pouring into this parking lot all day to get their hands on a famous White Hut burger with social distancing restrictions in place.
Welcome to the new and improved White Hut.
A ribbon cutting, or rather a hot dog cutting, to celebrate the reopening of the 81-year-old White Hut in West Springfield on Friday.
This is even better than what it used to be. It really kept the character, it kept the great burgers that they had, and really continued the establishment and continued the legacy.
The famous burger joint known around the country for their cheeseburgers and fried onions abruptly closed in February. But shortly after, new owners bought the establishment with hopes of bringing back the legacy. With the COVID-19 pandemic, they first got up and running with a White Hut food truck back in June. But after months of anticipation, the doors are finally open to the community again.
And it's like part of the DNA of our community, and couldn't let it leave.
One of the owners, Peter Pignelli, tells Western Mass News that he first came to the White Hut with his grandparents. He used to take his children here, and he wanted to keep the tradition alive for families all across Western Mass.
I think it's important to keep restaurants like the White Hut alive. I mean, there are few restaurants in our community. We have great restaurants in Western Mass, but there are few that have the emotional connection to generations of families that have come here for cheeseburgers and fried onions. And to let that go would be a shame.
Pignelli says they've modernized the inside of the restaurant, but the food recipes stay the same, and they're very thankful to the community. Live in West Springfield, Lindsay Kane, Western Mass News.
All right, Lindsay, thanks. 5 firefighters being sworn into the Springfield Fire Department today in a socially distant but nonetheless special ceremony. Springfield Mayor Dominic Sarno and Fire Commissioner B.J. Calvi spoke at the ceremony, both touching upon not only the role of a firefighter in the line of duty, but the unique time that these 5 came to take their oath in.
And you guys went through some rigorous training, and you went through it during this surreal and extraordinary time of the COVID-19 coronavirus.
Chief Edward Crooker of the Fire Department of New York said at about the turn of the century, the greatest act of bravery that any firefighter has is when he raises his hand and takes his oath of office. Everything after that is just in the line of duty.
Because of the coronavirus, the ceremony was set to a 25-person limit. For more coverage on the coronavirus emergency as it continues to develop, log on to our free streaming Western Mass News app.
It's been a really comfortable afternoon, starting to see a few high, thin clouds building in. I expect a really nice sunset with some of those thin clouds to give us some really nice color. So shutterbugs, get your cameras ready, send those pictures on in to me, and I'll try to share them tonight at 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock. 86 for our current temperature in Springfield and Westfield, 85 in Northampton, and 83 degrees in Charlemont. Still very summer-like, but lacking the humidity. Don't worry, that arrives tomorrow and sticks around for Sunday and Monday. Our satellite radar is dry. You start to see a few of those clouds building on in, but the storms are to our north. We will see a couple of those showers and storms arriving tomorrow afternoon, mainly in the form of just some pop-up showers. Not everyone's seeing the showers, not only Saturday, but also kind of hit or miss heading into Sunday too. So we'll call it an unsettled weekend, but let's not cancel any plans just yet. 62 for an overnight low, and tomorrow returning to the low 90s. We're going to make a run for the record tomorrow, sitting at 91, I believe. Mostly sunny with an isolated thunderstorm possible in the afternoon.